My name is Vivek Narasimhan and I'm a second year MBA student and Center for Digital Strategies MBA Fellow at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. I am pleased to welcome Stephen Caniano, Vice President, Hosting and Cloud Services, AT&T Business Solutions, who is joining us today as part of the Brit Technology Impact Series. Welcome to Tuck, Stephen, and thank you for being here. When we talk of cloud computing, a lot of people point to cost savings as a primary driver. Is that all there is to the cloud? What are some of the opportunities enterprises are or might be missing out when they look at it purely from the perspective of cost?
Well, I think cost is certainly a relevant item. I don't think it's the only item. In fact, I don't think it's the single driver for moving to cloud either. I see it much more around business agility, velocity, and the ability to scale as bigger drivers, quite frankly, than cost. Certainly cost is in the equation. It's always in the equation in a business decision, but the ability to move quickly, to be able to rapidly scale businesses, for example, across different geographies, for example, with a relative quick time of movement and low cost of entry, I think are even larger factors in the adoption of cloud.
Okay. Can you give some examples of how enterprises have leveraged cloud computing successfully?
Sure. In fact, what we see as a major trend is the marriage of cloud computing with mobile solutions. And many CIOs today are looking at how they mobilize their business, whether that's to support a mobile workforce, employee base, a mobile supply chain, or even some of the non-traditional architectures without a human at the other end, let's say a machine-to-machine type solution set. And so leveraging those solutions, which inherently are multi-point, need to be nimble, but need a very robust architecture on which to compute and run the application, is a great space for innovation and a natural solution set for the cloud.
Anything enterprise should be kind of cautious about, or should be some potential risks that they need to face?
I think enterprises are treading cautiously here. In fact, I think we're still in the early phases of adoption of the cloud. The issues that enterprises have cared about for many, many years don't change with the cloud in terms of things like security and performance and control of the systems that they're operating. In many ways, those become magnified with the cloud because now you are trusting perhaps what you used to do yourself to a service provider.
Right.
And so it's very critical for enterprises to understand their service provider, understand the capabilities that they have or don't have, and make sure that the application of cloud that they're leveraging meets their needs. Some may be very different than others, for example, and appropriate for kind of a public infrastructure. Others may be highly secure and sensitive and need more of a private cloud infrastructure, and still others may be somewhere in between. But that's very critical for the business leaders and technical leaders to understand.
Now, is the cloud only for large enterprises, or what would your pitch be to, let's say, a startup or a small company?
I think in many ways the startups and smaller companies have been the early adopters and the innovators in cloud more so than larger businesses. Larger businesses tend to come at it more cautiously. They have existing infrastructures and embedded base, and so I don't see them ripping those out to replace solution sets with cloud all that quickly. Smaller businesses, however, I think have naturally gravitated to the cloud because it's a place where they can innovate without having to invest a lot of capital, for example. In fact, we've seen many startup businesses try to do that on public cloud models and either scale with it if they're successful, or if they're not successful, not have spent a whole lot of time and energy to fail, quite frankly. And so I think you've probably seen more innovation in the early phases of cloud in that space than you have the bigger businesses.
Interesting. So basically cloud is for everybody, small businesses as well as large.
I think in time cloud is for everyone, although I think that the solution set that people will use for cloud will vary by not only size of customer, but even use case within the customer.
Finally, can you talk about how a large organization like AT&T itself has leveraged the cloud?
Oh, absolutely. And AT&T is in a unique position in that we are both a large service provider in the marketplace for small businesses through enterprises, but we're also one of the largest enterprise customers and consumers ourselves. And so we do a lot of work across both those bases. We call it T on T, actually, whereby we are leveraging capabilities for ourselves. We like to think about that as kind of drinking our own champagne, if you will, and learning in that process, and then applying those learnings towards our commercial offers for customers. We've also done a lot of work in what we call our innovation centers, whereby we've had third parties who are innovating with us join us in these laboratory environments to help us look at application of technology, of capabilities on our platforms, things they can innovate around those platforms, which manifest themselves in many cases in terms of solutions and products that we bring to market.
Steve, on behalf of the Center for Digital Strategies at TUC, I would like to thank you again for speaking with us today. We appreciate your thoughts and insights. This has been Vivek Narasimhan for the CDS at TUC School of Business.